Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to episode 106 of Thyroid Radio Live Talk Show and Podcast, brought to you by Just Thrive Probiotic. I'm Dana.
And I'm Tiffany, and we'll be your host for today. Good morning.
Exciting show.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good morning, wherever you are.
Good day.
Yes. Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to you.
Today we are
How are you today?
Dr. Mark Hyman, and we are so excited, aren't we? Medical Director at the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine, founder of the Ultra Wellness Center, medical editor of the Huffington Post, regular medical contributor for CBS This Morning, Good Morning America, CNN, The Dr. Oz Show, and more. He's a 10-time #1 New York Times bestselling author. Man, and we are so excited to finally talk to him, aren't we, Tiff?
That's a mouthful, and that doesn't even cover most of it. I mean, Dr. Hyman's pretty awesome,
right?
In my basic sentencing, yeah, it's super honored to be able to talk with him today in this new book, and absolutely. Real quick, first we want to thank our ThriveProbiotic.com sponsors. We're honored to have them as sponsored. Spore-based, very unique. Verified to survive gastric acid, which is super important. There's actually studies that show that it's survived, which on many probiotics there are not. Gluten, dairy, sugar-free, non-GMO, which Dr. Hyman would love, and proven to reduce endotoxins, triglycerides, and symptoms of leaky gut. Just the best.
Yep.
Awesome over-the-counter. You can get it at ThriveProbiotic.com.
We do love them.
Right?
You sound so good when you say it, but what's so weird is you really mean it. So it's really neat. I love it.
But I feel like, you know when you hear the radio people and they're like, ThriveProbiotic.com, they have like this. It makes me giggle. Yeah, right?
ThriveProbiotic.com. Okay.
Oh, God, we're off to a giggle.
We are. Before we get to Mark Hyman, I want to just express my thanks and my gratitude for everybody who has supported us and checked out Thyroid Refresh. Jenny and I are thrilled. We have a growing membership community that is fabulous. If you are a member, please jump in the forums. They're so great. There's neat stories in there, including you, Tiff. Get in there. And,
I was going to say hint in there.
Yeah, right. Get in there and get your butt known in there, Tiff. No, it is a fabulous website and opportunity, and I'm just really, really proud and happy how everything's going. And soon our 30-day wellness adventure launches. It is a game changer. It is going to be amazing. It is gamified, and you can check out more of that at thyroidrefresh.com and check out the Thyroid 30 button. Really, really, we're going to launch early summer, and it will change everything. Very revolutionary. Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, it looks like he's with us, so without further ado, let's get this Thyroid Nation thriving. Good morning, Dr. Hyman. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Very good. How are you today?
I'm great.
You're busy.
Where are you calling in from? Yes.
I'm in New York City in my apartment.
Oh, awesome.
Good
Chilling
for you,
with Dr. Hyman.
Well, it's funny because I know that you up and busy doing something else, another interview this morning. We're glad that you're here with us now.
Yeah, I did the Joan Hamburg show. I've been doing that for 20 years. She's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Well, it is very nice
cool
to meet you and very nice to have you on the show. I'm
Thank
Dana.
you so much for having me.
Big fan. We've got your book right here, and Tiffany and I want to just kind of jump right into it. But
Let's
really, we like to hear, I'm sure lots of people know the story, but I want to hear it in your own words, just a little bit of your history, a little bit of background about you, maybe even something that people don't know.
Yeah, well, probably people don't know that I was a yoga teacher before I was a doctor.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
I did.
That I majored in Buddhism, and that I was a vegetarian for 10 years, and that, all kinds of stuff. I was born in Spain, and took a circuitous route to medicine and ended up being really sick after I became a doctor and discovered this whole world of functional medicine, which is getting to the root cause of disease because no one could fix me and I needed to figure out how to fix myself. And I learned all about functional medicine and actually was able to start applying that to my patients and seeing profound changes in their biology and health, things that I never saw as a regular doc doing what I was trained to do.
I followed you all the way back before the nutrigenomics. I actually still have that video series. It was very cool. So I
that was a while ago.
Enamored way back. Yes, right. I still have them. It's pretty cool. It's funny how genetics is actually catching up now. It's kind of like, oh, well, Dr. Hyman's been talking about that for a long time.
Oh, yeah. This is like, you see the train coming, and then it takes everybody 20 years to catch up.
Right.
How is your Spanish?
My Spanish, más o menos. Puedo hablar un poquito. Nací en Barcelona.
Sí, yo también. Yo vivo en Costa Rica para 8
años. Oh.
Yeah. So my family and I picked up and moved from Texas to Costa Rica for 8 years, and we just came back about a year ago. We loved it.
It's beautiful
kids,
there.
Of course, my kids are fluent in Spanish, and Spanish is my.
That's good. That's always good to have a few languages. I got a little Spanish, a little French, a little sign language, a little Hebrew, more Spanish.
A little Spanglish in there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So I got to ask, how were you born in Spain? Was it a military family or?
No, my dad was a journalist. My mom was a teacher, and they were expatriates after the war and traveled all over Europe, exploring the world and having adventures. And they really.
So
just,
did your childhood encompass a lot of adventures as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I lived in Spain for 4 years, and I like to travel and explore the world, and it was really fun.
Very cool. That's an education all in itself. So you have kind of an education in international cuisine as well. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, I love food from all over.
Okay, so we love this book. And what I love about the book is it repeats so many things that people know, but it gets into the nitty-gritty of the yes and no's of that and the whys. I love that. That.
Put some meat on the bones of why we're all so confused and what the answers are.
Right, and that's an understatement, Dr. Hyman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an understatement, people being confused. Even people who know are confused. I mean, it seems like everything comes in every now and again of new things that change what you thought was right, and just, oh my gosh, it can be so overwhelming.
Right. Totally.
We're just reading another article on intermittent fasting, and everybody's talking about it lately, and it's funny to sit on the outside a little bit and kind of watch the waves of how things go up and down and what's the new thing people talk about. And of course, that's not new, but it just seems like it's kind of out there more often right now.
Totally. Yeah.
That's a great question for you, Dr. Hyman. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting, for healthy people as well as people specific with a thyroid issue? Is there a difference?
Well, yeah, I think, first of all, what is intermittent fasting? What about thyroid? So there are two different topics, essentially. So the intermittent fasting is a way of eating in a way that is supporting your biology to reset and repair every day. So we have an extraordinary ability to heal and repair every day, but it requires us to not eat for a period of time, which is why we usually have dinner and then breakfast. But most of us kind of eat after dinner and then we eat early in the morning, and we don't give our bodies enough time to reset. And intermittent fasting kind of mimics calorie restriction, which sets your body into a healing response where you activate your stem cells, you increase antioxidant enzymes, you increase muscle mass, you improve insulin sensitivity, you increase your metabolism, improve your cognitive function, you actually help to all rebuild all your tissues and reset your mitochondria. So it's a very powerful strategy. It's not for everybody. If you're very thin, or you're weak, or you have you're pregnant, or you have cancer, or other issues, you may not be able to do it, but it's super powerful.
So beneficial and recommended for people with thyroid conditions as well? And is there like a maximum, or do you just say eat dinner early?
Well, if your thyroid is well managed, you should be okay. It's a matter of doing basically a 14-hour window between eating. So let's say you eat at 6, then you'd eat it by, if you ended eating at 6, it'd be like this. So midnight would be 6 hours, and another 8 hours would like be 8 in the morning. So that's fine. That's like a 14-hour fast. You can do longer fasts, like 16 hours, but most of us don't do that. I mean, you can do from 8 at night till noon the next day.
Awesome, and that's something that should be done every day, overnight, every day.
Well, it can be. It can be. Yeah. I mean, ideally, if you don't want to skip breakfast, you can end eating earlier in the day, but you don't have to do that.
Oh, that's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so that's a super important thing to be doing. I think. I mean, people have been talking about that for a long time, and then they said, well, diabetics should snack before, and I mean, just yikes.
Well, it's actually very good for diabetes. Fasting is powerful for diabetes. Very powerful. And it's really able to reset your biology in amazing ways. So I'm a big fan of that.
Well, and you must, I was going to say, you must, get to eat all kinds of different things since you're traveling. How is your, how do you maintain? Do you get to do some intermittent fasting, being on planes and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'll do that. Or, so I'll have a bulletproof coffee in the morning, or just not eat till noon. And it really can be very helpful. It helps your energy, your brain function. But, the research on it's called fasting mimicking diet, or intermittent fasting, or time-restricted eating. It's all the same thing. But, yeah, it's super powerful.
Very cool. Well, let's jump in. I watched your ultra thyroid video, which was awesome. I loved that. I wish I'd seen that much earlier. It's a great 30-minute video. It's just awesome.
Well, it's forever ago.
It's a really great video. I loved it.
Yeah, thank you. I don't even remember what I did or said.
He's going to have to go.
I'll send you the link. No, how funny, right? But it's 30 minutes, and it's really...
That was like 10 plus years ago.
You know what, though? It covers so many things that just very specific and in a short period of time. I really enjoyed it. I mean, and, we get the onslaught of thyroid things, and I personally really enjoyed that video.
Thank
Just
you.
saying. Google the ultra thyroid video, folks, because it's awesome. 30 minutes. Anyways, can we ask you specifically, before we jump into the book and food and everything, but how does food nutrition status specifically affect the thyroid?
Oh, my God, it's huge. I mean, if you look at the things that are required to actually make your thyroid work properly, you need to have selenium, which converts T4 to T3. You need to have vitamin D, which activates thyroid at the nuclear receptors. You need iodine to build thyroid. You need zinc to help with some of the processing of thyroid. All these really are critical nutrients that we're very deficient in. Even omega-3 fats help. So all these are really important as part of our diet, and we can get them in foods. Iodine comes from seaweed or fish. Selenium comes from Brazil nuts. You can get omega-3 fats from fatty fish. You can get, a vitamin D, also from fatty fish or mushrooms, but also you may need to take vitamin D. So these are really important nutrients that have to be consumed in order for your thyroid to work properly.
So nutrition is key. I mean, I know that's so simple, but, we hear so many food, thyroid patients are like, it's like a onslaught of food exclusions. And then you fall right back to, what do you eat?
Right. Well, I mean, there's not that many exclusions. I mean, you don't want to be eating a lot of raw collard greens, and you don't want to be eating a ton of processed soy, and you don't want to be eating a ton of foods that, like gluten, which can be a very big factor in Hashimoto's disease. But other than that, I mean, it can be a pretty wide variety of diet.
Right, and
that's good to know.
How well?
That feels good.
It's
that
how
feels
well somebody's
saying that, actually, right? Yeah, because when you get on the internet, it is kind of overwhelming. There are articles, don't eat this, don't eat that. But once you go through your book a little bit, it's kind of refreshing. It's like there's lots of things to eat when you think about it.
Of course, so much to eat. There's so much to eat, and it's so good, and it's so easy, and we just need to get our head around it and not make ourselves crazy. That's the whole purpose of the book. I sort of jokingly kind of talked about some principles of healthy eating, which I call the Pegan diet, which is really a spoof on the extremes of paleo and vegan. And really to poke fun at it, but also to talk about what are the things that are common sense around those things that are included. And that's really what it is. It's a very inclusive diet. Now, depending on, your issues, I might need to adapt to that differently, but it's really pretty straightforward and simple and effective to actually help people understand what should we be eating. And, I go through all the controversies and each, first I talk about why we're so confused. We're so confused because the media has conflicting reports. One day eggs are bad, then they're good. One day cholesterol is bad, now it's good. And the media is also affected by the research, which is also corrupted by the food industry, which funds a huge amount of confusing research designed to confuse and befuddle people and distract from the truth. And, soda companies study soda. Guess what? They find that it's not a problem. If Dairy Council studies dairy, it's not a problem. It's healthy. It's nature's perfect food. And it sort of confuses the field. And then, we have public health organizations and the government promoting outdated ideas that are harmful, such as low fat or calorie restriction for weight loss or, high carbohydrate diets. I mean, these are really challenging to kind of shift people's opinion. So we have all these reasons for confusion, and then I go through in every chapter: meat, dairy, poultry, fish, beans, grains, fruits, nuts, seeds, beverages, sweeteners, all of the things that we eat, and actual foods we eat, not so talking about the ingredients, but the actual foods, and talk about what are the controversies, what do we know, what do we don't know, and go through all those in great detail, then sort of summarize, well, based on all this knowledge, what is it we should eat? What should we not eat? What should we eat? And what the heck should we eat, basically, which is what I kind of help people with at the end of the day.
It's awesome, and I love the Pegan diet portion of your book where you get into the pros and cons of each diet, and people have where they can read it right there, all in one thing, and it's perfect. Can we back up a little bit, because I love I heard a big sigh. Dana, did you want to?
No, go ahead. I can jump in anytime. Go ahead.
I want to say something. No, go ahead. We giggle a lot,
That's
Dr.
good.
Hyman,
Giggling
so you'll
is
have
good.
to forgive us. It's terrible.
Yep.
Giggling is good.
It's good for health. Laughing is very important for health.
Absolutely.
I would be crazy if I didn't laugh. Dana,
Absolutely.
did you want to go, or do you want to?
Oh, go ahead, honey.
Okay. The 10-day detox. I love this. Dr. Hyman, I am going to start this. I am going to get off the phone today, and I'm going to write all of this down and just make a diet according to these two little charts here for the 10 days. I really am, because I've already done, no sugar and processed foods. I do all of that. But this is really impressive, the 10-day detox. I think, detoxing can be very scary for me personally because I feel very unwell. But this is like a reasonable, normal, healthy, eat good food, avoid these things, detox.
Well, essentially, what I did was I've been practicing functional medicine for over 20 years and studying nutrition for 40 years. And, I found what works for most people to help them reset, particularly for the chronic issues that affect so many Americans. We have, 1 in 2 Americans has prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. We have 80 million Americans with an autoimmune disease. We have the number one reason for visiting doctors is gut complaints, whether it's irritable bowel or reflux or worse. And so I created a way of eating that essentially eliminates all the potential triggers for a short period of time, sort of like hitting the reset button on your computer when all the apps are stuck, which is sort of what's happening. Our biological apps are stuck.
Right.
And we see profound changes in just 10 days. So I figured, anybody can do anything for 10 days. And then you don't have to listen to me at all. You can just listen to your body. It's much smarter than I am. It'll tell you what works and what doesn't work. So if you stop all the inflammatory foods, sugar, processed food, lots of flour, gluten, dairy, grains, beans, and alcohol. Caffeine is plus minus, but it's good to stop for 10 days. And then you reset with whole foods. And it's not about what you're taking out only. It's also what you're adding in. You're adding in whole foods. You're adding in lots of plant foods. You're adding in lots of good fats. And it's 50% fat. I didn't advertise it as that, but it's 50% fat because that helps stimulate your metabolism, cut your appetite, make you feel good, brain clarity. And in 10 days, people see weight loss of up to 10 pounds or more. Sometimes they'll see blood sugars drop an average of 20 points, blood pressure drops 10 points, and more importantly, all symptoms from all diseases go down by 62%. That means if you have a migraine or irritable bowel or joint pain or headache or rash or you have a runny nose or you have fatigue or insomnia or depression or any of these random symptoms that you think are just normal, they go away because food is the biggest driver of this chronic set of symptoms that cause so much suffering for so many. I call it FLC syndrome. That's when you feel like crap.
I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the subclinical thyroid people, right? Just feel like crap, period.
For sure.
And then they're in tears when they leave the doctor's appointment because their thyroid function all came out fine and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I feel like crap. I feel like I'm dying and everything's fine. Just yikes.
Exactly.
So the 50% fat, do you mind if I ask you, people with sluggish liver and liver issues, they'll see benefits from this as well, even at a 50% fat?
Oh, yeah, that's great for the liver. I think, what actually causes liver damage is sugar and starch. It's sort of contradictory, but to get a fatty liver, which affects 90 million Americans, you have to eat sugar and starch. And that is what's causing the problem. And we know from research that using high-fat diets, you can actually transform your liver from a fatty liver to a liver that's actually healing, especially with oils like MCT oil. Now, if you have gallbladder issues and you're really struggling there, that may be an issue. But there's ways to sort of sort that out with medicine that is like enzymes and other things that can be helped to digest your food.
Very cool. That is good to know. So I just personally, help me with the gluten thing. Dr. Hyman, I still eat gluten. Tell me something from what I would consider the top world's doctor, or particularly in the United States. I can't get my fat head around this, and I'm going to tell you why. When I don't eat enough carbohydrates, I get extremely depressed. I'm talking not a ton of carbohydrates, about 100 a day. Of course, they're whole grains. And if I don't, I'm food controlled diabetic, so I eat, every 3 hours, and that has controlled my blood sugars for almost 30 years. So to pull out the grain and the gluten, I'm having trouble with this, Dr. Hyman. Tell me something, Tiffany. Here it is.
Yeah, you're conflating a bunch of different things. There's a carbohydrate issue, which is real, and some people do need more carbohydrates. Then there's a grain issue, and then there's a gluten issue, and there are three different topics. So let's just sort of break them out. I think that most of the population is carbohydrate intolerant. That's because 70% of the Americans are overweight. So typically, the reason you get overweight is you increase carbohydrate intake, you get insulin production that causes fat storage, makes you hungry, it locks the fat in the fat cells, slows your metabolism. That is a big problem for a lot of people. Now, if you're not overweight, you don't have insulin resistance, and you're otherwise healthy, and you eat a good whole foods diet, some people do need more carbohydrates. I do need a little more as well, because if I don't, I start losing too much weight, and I'm already pretty skinny. So I agree, there are some people who do need more carbohydrates. Not a ton, but more. And that can be in the form of sweet potato. It can be in the form of winter squash. It can be in the form of black rice or quinoa or buckwheat or other whole grains. That's okay. Now, some people can get carbohydrates from the root vegetables. Some people who have gut issues and autoimmune issues may not be able to tolerate the grains. And then there's the gluten issue. And I want to sort of dig into that a little bit because I think it's an important topic.
Please.
Okay, so everybody's like gluten-free. There's always movies making jokes of it. I'm gluten-free. I don't know what's gluten anyway. I don't know, but it's supposed to be healthy, and like nobody knows what they're doing. So I think that there are four issues with gluten, main issues. One, we eat a huge amount of it. We eat 133 pounds of flour per person per year. That's a massive dose, and that has a higher glycemic index than sugar. So if you take 2 tablespoons of sugar and 2 slices of whole wheat bread, the whole wheat bread is worse for you in terms of your blood sugar than tablespoons of sugar. And that's because the hybridized wheat has amylopectinate, which is a superstarch, is highly absorbable. It's like sugar in your body. So that's a big issue. So people overweight or have gut issues, sugar issues, that's a big problem. The second is that we've hybridized the wheat, which has helped it be more drought resistant, have better yields and so forth, which is all fine. But the unintended consequence is that you breed plants, they add genes together. They don't have, will copy from their mom and the dad, and then they have the same amount. You get additive genes. And the genes that are in the new wheat is actually more inflammatory, has higher Gluten proteins, which is the inflammatory proteins, and leads to far more celiac disease, autoimmune disease, gluten sensitivity. And it's a real thing. Over the last 50 years, we've seen a real increase in gluten sensitivity and antibodies and celiac by 400%, which is not a fluke. It's actually been well studied and researched. And so it's a real thing. The second is many, many people have gluten sensitivity because of leaky gut, which means that our guts really are the filter to protect us from the outside world. And when that breaks down, we get poop and bugs and food proteins leaking in, causing inflammation. And that's really what leads to so many chronic diseases, including thyroid. 30% of people with Hashimoto's thyroiditis have elevated thyroid antibodies. Elevated gluten antibodies, which is probably driving the problem. So you've got starch, you've got the gluten proteins, you've got the leaky gut, all of which are an issue. And then you've got glyphosate, which is sprayed on all traditional wheat products, not organic, but it's sprayed at the time of harvest, not as a way of sort of an herbicide, but it's to exfoliate the wheat plants so they're easy to harvest and collect. That residue stays on the plants and it gets in our food supply, and that is potentially very harmful. We know that glyphosate may lead to cancer, disturbs your gut microbiome, maybe causing depletion of your natural antioxidant enzymes like glutathione, and all these are problematic. And the last reason is if they preserve wheat flour with calcium propionate, which is a powerful fatty acid that should not be in large amounts in our bodies, and actually in animal models they were able to induce autism by giving them high levels of calcium propionate. So I don't know if all our kids are on ADD medication or have autism because of that, but it's a real issue, and I'm highly concerned about it, and I think we don't want to add fuel to the fire.
Do you have kids? Do you mind me asking, Mr.
Yes,
Mr. Dr. Hyman? Sorry.
Yes.
You do? Are they?
Yeah.
How old are they?
They are 30 and 28.
No
my
way.
goodness.
You don't have a 30 and 28-year-old.
Yeah,
Wow.
I do. I'm older than I look.
Wow. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, I know you have an amazing story. Tiffany, will you elaborate and ask him a little bit? I know you know a little bit more about it, but we kind of want to go there. So let's do it.
Oh, no, just your own health journey. How sick you were and how you reversed that. I think that's pretty impressive. Can you talk a little bit about that? Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course. Well, I actually had something like a long time ago and then more recently. So a long time ago, I was in China, had mercury poisoning from the pollution, came back, thought it was fine, and then everything collapsed. And one day to the next, and I had some weird stomach bug, and it just set my gut microbiome down, and then everything fell apart. And I went from riding my bike 100 miles a day to not being able to walk up the stairs to remembering 30 patients without taking notes and dictating at the end of the day to not knowing where it was at the end of the sentence from where I started. And that was debilitating. I had severe muscle pain. I had autoimmune issues. My brain stopped working. My muscles were breaking down. My immune system was horrible. My gut stopped working. And I had to really unravel that piece by piece and cell by cell, system by system. And that's really how I discovered the power of functional medicine, was in repairing myself. And then I started applying with my patients and seeing amazing results. So I had to get rid of the mercury. I had to repair my gut. I developed all these allergies. I had thyroid issues. I had adrenal issues. I had gut issues. I had mitochondrial issues, toxin issues. And I had to really sort through all of that. That was powerful. And that really led me to the work I'm doing now. And then last year, about a year, maybe a little more than a year ago, I got really sick from having mold in my house. I developed a cough. I had a root canal that went bad. I took an antibiotic. I got colitis, and my whole system collapsed. And I was in bed for 5 months and severely impaired, physically impaired. I developed like autoimmune stuff, colitis, and was super sick. And through that, I sort of figured out a model of healing that it's not real well known in this country, but it's using ozone therapy, which was very effective for me, along with hyperbaric oxygen and intravenous vitamins and glutathione. And all that was super powerful, and that allowed me to recover and repair my biology, where I feel better than ever now.
That's incredible. Two really serious
incredible
stories there. Holy moly.
I thought the one story when...
That's sort of my path, is to get sick and figure it out.
And to be able to help people, right?
Right. That does kind of make you an expert. I mean, people that have pulled themselves out from things like that, they know an awful lot, you know what I'm saying, about making it work. It's not just some random, I'm going to have this philosophy, and it's, literally I was on my deathbed and came back, and here we are. This is what works.
Yeah, it's powerful.
There's a lot of power in being the patient, especially for a physician. That sounds terrible, but I kind of, that's, I don't know. It helps a physician a lot when they've been a patient to understand what that's like when you, when you feel that way. I thought your China story was impressive. It sounds like, this last time was, my goodness, another bout.
I know, it was bad.
I got to ask you, Dr. Hyman, how much do you think that the genetics plays? I mean, I love I don't want to say I love the fact that you were in those places both times, because that would be awful, and I would be an awful person. But, it's, I don't know. I just think there's so much power in that, and
yeah, well, it taught me a lot about how to actually take care of myself and learn the inside-out version of healing. And, I don't wish it on doctors just because it's not a fun way to learn, but it really gave me a profound view on what we know and what we don't know, and it was very humbling.
I mentioned that you studied Buddhism, so I want to go in the direction of lifestyle and mindset and things. Of course, food and nutrition play a huge role, but do you have some favorite things that you do that help you stay grounded, or mindful, apps, or any routines or rituals you do or try to do every day?
Yeah, of course. Like I have a whole, like I think of it as like a toolkit, and I can pull on any of the tools that I like or enjoy that I can fit into my world, and I do it on a regular basis. So I try to meditate twice a day for 20 minutes. I try to exercise, and even if I can't do a lot, I'll do like a 7-minute workout. I try to schedule yoga in regularly 3-4 times a week. When it's summer out, I like to play tennis and ride my bike and hike. So I sort of design it, and I also make sure I can understand how to navigate the food landscape around me wherever I am and bring food with me. So I have like a series of things. I make sure I get enough sleep. I try to get 8 hours sleep every night, because it's way important that we really underestimate the value of sleep. So I think I try to just have these practices and build in buffer times and build in break times where I can completely go off the grid, and it's super helpful. And
you talk about those three things in enhancing the detox experience. That I love how you say actively relax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Move your body, prioritize sleep. Those three things, I think, people can get so hyper-focused on other things that they forget the importance of those three very simple things,
Yeah, I mean, the things that are the most effective don't cost any money, right?
And they don't cost any money.
Sleep
and
meditation and movement don't really cost any money. You don't even need shoes. You can just jump around in your house. So they put some music on.
Your 7-minute workout, is it like a resistance training, or do you do different things at different times?
Yeah, it's a high intensity interval training. It's based on a study that was done looking at how it affected people over time. And it was profoundly effective. It's a super high intensity for 7 minutes. It's like 12 different exercises based on the sort of New York Times report that they report on this study that was done.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
And I got to ask you, how much or how important, just, going back to your way back when days of the nutrigenomics, how much does genetics play a role in our food? Like, can everybody do ketogenic diet? Can everybody do, this type of eating, or is it really specific to genetics of whether someone thrives or not? I mean,
No,
you
absolutely.
are pretty much the expert on that, the nutrigenomics.
No, absolutely. Everybody needs to pay attention to their biology and what works and what doesn't work. And that's the most important thing. So there are general rules, but you have to, within that, it's like you say, you might need a little more carbohydrates. Somebody else might thrive on a ketogenic diet. It's a very different thing than just a one-size-fits-all proposition here. But there are foundational principles: eating whole foods, eating good fats. And some people don't do as well with more fat. Some people need less fat. Some people need more carbs. Some need less carbs. It's really important to make sure you pay really good attention to what your body feels in different ways.
Right, like you said, though, fundamental principles, avoiding glyphosate and, buying organic is very important. There's lots of people that have genetic susceptibilities to not being able to detox properly, but it's a generally good rule for everybody to avoid those things, to avoid the pesticides, avoid that.
Yeah, for sure.
And, the sugars.
Nobody says, there's nobody out there that's going to say, you should add more pesticides to your strawberries.
Right,
or you should add more sugar to your food. Like nobody, but yet we do that.
It's awful. Every time we're in the grocery store, or the kids will be like, "Mom, look, the strawberries are 99 cents, for this." I'm like, "Yeah, no, that is just one food. It doesn't matter how cheap it goes. We don't do, or you do organic strawberries, or you don't do, But it's just the like enticement, and it's very deceiving to the average bird. I feel bad. That's why I'm so excited for your book. It really takes even people who know these things. You even get into the olive oils, and it's an awesome book.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it basically goes into all the questions people have, all the things they're wondering about, all the things that they really don't have the answers to, and all the, should you be vegan? Should you eat meat? Should you, be keto? Should you eat more carbs? Should you have dairy? What about, eggs? Everybody's so confused. So I think it's super important for people to kind of get clear on what's what and what to do.
And it's making me think. Here's somebody, a mom and dad, and they have 2 kids sitting at the table, or 3 kids, and they're finish your spinach or whatever. Thinking to myself, what if all 3 of those different kids really kind of need something different? So it's kind of making me think, like, if people really knew more about food and their bodies and paid more attention, everybody would be doing a lot better. And, eating the same exact thing isn't really going to work either. So it's interesting to me.
Yeah. But there, we are pretty flexible, most of us, and I think it's okay. Like, people can have a wide variety of diets, and I don't honestly believe in, having different foods for everybody at the table. Like, yes, if someone's got a specific issue, like they're celiac or sensitive to dairy, but my house, there were 2 things on the menu for dinner: take it or leave it.
Right. I have 4 kids, and I mean, there are days, of course, my 2 teenagers, and they have, Mom, this is, I got a pimple, and you're like, oh my God, no, just no. You're like, I'm not a short order cook. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm sort of the take it or leave it diet. But I do want to talk about balance a little bit, because when I think one of the big reasons that, thyroid people get hung up on goitrogens and things like that is because maybe when they eat it, they don't necessarily feel so good. And, that may be more on iodine repletion status or even sulfur intolerance, right? So it's important balance. It doesn't mean that you want to avoid all sulfur-containing food, or you don't want to avoid all goitrogenic foods, or you certainly don't want to eat all goitrogenic food raw. There is balance that comes into that. You also don't want to make a goitrogenic smoothie because broccoli, kale, cabbage, and spinach are all fabulous, and you're going to have it first thing in the morning, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're going to die an hour and a half later,
Yeah, there was a story I read in the New England Journal of Medicine once of this woman who thought bok choy was healthy, and she read about it, so she had 2 pounds of bok choy every day.
Oh, my God.
Raw, and ended up in a hypothyroid coma.
Oh, my God, are you serious? Okay, so that's a great point. Dr. Hyman. I mean, it's very hard
Listen,
sometimes.
people can die from drinking too much water.
Right. Right. There's actually rituals, I believe, in Africa of who can drink is it water or milk? I think it's milk, of who can drink the most, and literally, some tribal person dies from this contest, once a year of who can drink the most milk. I mean,
terrible.
But that's what I mean about balance. Balance is really key to everything in life.
Completely. Totally. It's
Yeah,
really about understanding, like, the dose makes the poison, right? Whether it's sugar. I mean, sugar is not necessarily bad. It's just a dose, right? It's like a little bit is fine, but if you're consuming huge amounts, then you're going to get in trouble.
Right. I would love to ask Steve Jobs. You wonder if, the fruitarian, okay, fruit is very important. It's vitamin C. It's very healthy. There's fiber. There's all these things. But, the dose makes the poison of anything, even beneficial foods.
Yeah, he was definitely,
died.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I mean, it's you just want to ask him. There was actually an article I read of his daughter explaining him eating eel. I don't think it was very long before he passed away, maybe a couple of years or so. I'm not even sure he knew he was sick yet, or maybe he did. I don't remember. Anyways, I was reading the article from his daughter explaining that this meal that she shared with her father, and it was really a very extraordinary insight into the man and their relationship, and just the thinking, and it was very powerful. So
I think I read that article. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Do you mind if I talk a little bit about socioeconomic dietary structure? You touched a little bit before on it in the beginning, but how these government regulations are making us ill, and unfortunately there's so many physicians, Dr. Hyman, that are still stuck in the food paradigm and believing that there's benefit in these recommendations. How do we talk to our doctor for those that aren't able to see a functional medicine doctor, which is obviously ideal and so very important, but they're stuck in insurance and what have you? How do we talk to our doctor that doesn't get that yet?
Yeah, well, getting a doctor to teach you about nutrition is like asking your plumber to fix your car. I mean, I just think it's not what they know, and it's not their fault, and they weren't trained, and you need to sort of learn about it on your own. And the advice they're often getting are sound bites they get in their medical school about eat low fat or eat more carbs or whatever it is, and calories are all the same. They just don't have the time or energy or the bandwidth to actually understand all that. So that's part of warning from somebody who's never trained in that. The other issue is the whole system itself is set up to create disease and suffering. That we have dietary policies, food policies, agricultural policies that are all promoting the wrong behaviors and incentives. So, for example, we have an agricultural subsidy model where we support commodities, wheat, corn, and soy, that can turn into white flour and high fructose corn syrup and refined soybean oil, all of which are turned into processed foods. 60% of our calories come from these foods. And the people who eat the most of them are the sickest. And then, of course, not only do we fund the growth of these instead of funding regenerative agriculture or growth fruits and vegetables, which is called specialty crops and gets 1% support, we then pay for those foods for the 46 million people on food stamps. For example, $7 billion a year go to pay for soda for the poor, which makes them sick, and junk food, which makes them sick. By a factor of 10 to 1, junk food far outpaces the spending on any other food and real food for food stamps. And then, of course, we pay for Medicare and Medicaid on the back end. So we're getting triple taxed on the production of processed junk food and the disease created from it and the cost from healthcare. And the companies who make these foods are privatizing the profits while we're socializing the costs. Super, super important to understand these connections. Our dietary guidelines are not based completely on science. They have undue industry influence. They ignore huge swaths of data that are contradicting their recommendations, like saturated fat data. We have food marketing to kids, which we allow in this country. We have food labeling that's completely confusing. We have dietary policies which drive school lunch programs and drive all of our food programs that are making kids sick and fat. It's really, in my view, criminal, because we basically have corporations that have driven our policies that prevent us from getting good information and are leading us to be sick and fat. Just for example, we know that trans fats kill 200,000 people a year, and these fats are dangerous. They've been ruled as not safe to eat by the FDA, and yet if you go to your grocery store, they're all over the place in every processed food still. Now they've said to the food company to get this out of the foods, but there really is a very lax policy. They also said, well, if it says 0 trans fat on the label, then it's fine if it has less than half a gram per serving, which means a Cool Whip, which is all trans fat, can say on the label 0 trans fat. It's like legalized lying. And the government does that because the industry pressures them, funds them, and lobbies them. So that's the issue.
Well, we got Vani Hari out there on it at least, right?
Yeah, she's on it.
She's on it. On it.
I think that she's on it. She is on it. Dr. Hyman, what did you have for food yesterday? Tell us about your food day yesterday. Or not if you were traveling yesterday and it was more challenging. Give us an average Dr. Mark Hyman food day.
An average day would be I wake up. My wife's been making these things called alkagizers, which is basically a lot of avocados and greens and lemon and ginger, sort of like a vegetable smoothie. Might have a cup of coffee, or I've had Bulletproof on and off, but I don't always have that. Or I might have a shake with nuts and seeds and nut butters and coconut oil and berries and macadamia milk, which is like I call my fat shake. Or I might have eggs, farm eggs with avocados, tomatoes, and olive oil, which is like a lot of good fats and protein. Or I might just not have anything and wait for lunch. And then for lunch, I'll often have a fat salad. Like today, I had organic chicken on arugula with fennel and some roasted carrots, and that was delicious with a lot of olive oil. And then dinner is usually I'll have a piece of protein, so I have like chicken or fish, grass-fed finished meats, 2 or 3 sides of veggies. So I try to make 2/3 of my plate or 3/4 of my plate vegetables. So I often have 2 or 3 side dishes of veggies, and that's typically what I eat. I might have a dark chocolate square after dinner, but not always.
So what are your thin foods that you love and you can't stop having, your specialty treats? Do you have any of those?
Well, I stopped craving junk stuff. Like I used to, go by and want, a croissant or want this. I don't. It doesn't really appeal to me anymore. Like I ran out of coffee today in my apartment, so I went down to a local coffee shop, and I went in and these beautiful croissants, and I was like, so I want that, and I'm like, I actually don't want that. I'm not interested in that. Like it doesn't actually appeal to me. It doesn't even look like food anymore. And so your body starts wanting different things. I want the blended up vegetables. I want that. I don't want the croissant. And it's not just because I think it'll be bad for me, because my body just says, like, that's not food. It looks like a rock. Why would I eat a rock?
Right. It's so funny how, that's all it takes is, for people that crave sugar a lot, if you can just go, a couple of days, it won't run your life. Even using artificial sugars or, even stevia. What's funny is, having been a food-controlled diabetic for almost 30 years, anything that has even like stevia and stuff like that, it's so sweet to me, it's unappealing. I'm like, that's just nasty.
No, it's true. We just hijack our taste buds. I do run these detox groups, and we have people eat no sugar, almost no carbs or starch, no flour for sure, very low glycemic food, and tons of veggies, and people just feel great. And then at the end of the week, we say, okay, we're gonna have dessert. And it's basically coconut cream with berries and some nuts and chia seeds, and they're like, there's no sugar, and then people are like, this is the sweetest thing I've ever tasted. It's amazing. Right. It's like, and it's because we have artificial sweeteners. They're 1,000 times more sweet than sugar, and so we kind of it's like on crack, and we just need more and more, more sugar to actually feel satisfied.
Hijacking the taste buds. That's so
Mhm.
true. Even gluten-free, you address it in your book. You know, there's a ton of crap gluten-free food. You know, like you say, a gluten-free cookie is still a cookie.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
People are like, I'm eating gluten-free, you know, and then you're like, oh my gosh, that's like, I love the whole food term. Whole foods, not necessarily gluten-free, or, you know what I'm saying? Because
right. I mean, that's
it's
the thing.
hard to screw up with whole food.
Yeah, so I'm going to have gluten-free something. I'm like, well, you know, an egg is gluten-free, chicken is gluten-free,
Right.
broccoli is gluten-free. Like, that's gluten-free, you know?
Right. Okay, I got to ask you, because it's a pickle for many people. And pickles are good.
Yeah.
I love pickles, right? I have to say that because I'm a huge fan of pickles. But, okay, supplements. This is something that I've come across recently, right? Supplements are important. You address it in your book. You know, even if you eat fabulous and blah, 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 you still need supplements, basic additions. But what about crap supplements, Dr. Hyman? A lot of these, even from very reputable companies, come from corn derivatives or, you know, all these different things. What about the GMO and all the other things that are in supplements when people think they might actually be it might be a good supplement when it's not?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think the issue is that two things. One is, do we need supplements? And then if we do, what supplements do we need? I say, my position is that nobody needs supplements, except only under certain conditions that they can get away with eating those supplements. One is that they have to hunt and gather their own wild food. They have to drink pure, clean water. They have to drink pure air, exposed to no environmental toxins, exercise a lot, and sleep 9 hours a day and have no chronic stress, and go to bed with the sun and wake up with the sun. If you follow those principles, then no, I don't think you need supplements. But everybody else pretty much does.
Right.
You know.
That's my little island analogy that I had on the show last week. Was if you're on this perfect little island where you can grow your own things and do your own, and
you might not need it.
Yeah, but you might not need any, right?
I had a patient once. She didn't want to take supplements, so she looked at all. She's like, okay, well, if I have 2 Brazil nuts a day, and I have 15 pumpkin seeds, and I have this many mushrooms, and I have I can actually design a diet where I get all the nutrients I need. And yes, that potentially is possible. Vitamin D is a little harder. So you have to eat a lot of fatty fish and mushrooms, or run around naked, or in between 10 and 2 below the Atlanta latitude. So if she does that, then it's fine. But I think so. The truth is, most of us are deficient. If you look at the government's own survey and research and statistics, they show that 90+% are deficient in one or more at the nutrients at the minimum amount to prevent deficiency disease. That's not the optimal amount to get healthy. It's just like, how much vitamin D do you need to not get rickets? 30 units, not very much. How much vitamin C do you need to not get scurvy? Not very much, 60 milligrams. How much folate do you need to not get megaloblastic anemia? Not very much. But the question is, how much not so you don't get a deficiency disease, but how much is necessary for optimal functioning? And that's really the concept of functional medicine. So, you might be a lot higher. It might be 500 milligrams of vitamin C, or it might be 400 or 800 units of folate instead of 30. And I think that's really the thinking. So yes, and the problem is that so many vitamins out there, it's a wild west. Much of them are crap. They're not well regulated. You have to rely on the integrity of the manufacturer to do the right thing. And there are a few companies that are out there that have integrity, and they work really hard to protect the integrity of products by measuring the ingredients that come in, the raw materials for purity and potency, measuring the finished products, looking at stability, looking at bioavailability, looking at contaminants, avoiding fillers, additives. Some of them have shellac. You buy Centrum, a multivitamin, you take that for 30 years. It's got red dye in it, and blue dye, and pink dye, and it has, tin in it, and who knows what the hell has talc, and, these are not things we should be consuming. So really important to have a high-quality product. Because think of it as another form of food. You wouldn't buy the worst quality food you could get, but you want to buy good quality products, and there are ways of figuring these things out.
Gotcha. All right.
Well, what's new on the horizon for you? I did see your MLK talk. That was very, very cool. How was that?
Yes, it was.
Well, yeah, what you're talking about is this talk I gave at Riverside Church in New York, where where we really looked at the issues around food injustice and how our food system targets the poor and minorities, and really all of us, but disproportionately, and is so corrupt and is driving so much disease. And it's really frightening to see how that is getting worse and worse. So if anybody's interested, they can go to my website, drhyman.com, look at the latest articles. They can watch the 10-minute video of me giving a talk at the Riverside Church on Martin Luther King's anniversary of his death, and talking about the issues around how, marketing and food targeting for kids and African Americans and minorities is worse, how these foods are designed to be addictive, and how it drives behavioral issues such as challenges in school with kids learning, and even poverty and violence, contributes to climate change, so many other issues.
It's awful. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
My husband always, every time, he always says, have you ever noticed like liquor stores that are full of, of course, liquor and snack crap, processed foods are always in poor areas. I mean, it's such a simple analogy, but it's awful, and it's an awful truth.
It is. But it's something we can do something about.
Like I remember,
new book?
Okay,
sorry,
go
ahead.
I was going to say, I remember in school, that your kids spend all their time in school, mostly in school. And when I was in school, we just had the one choice. You went through the line and you got the food. But for, not so long ago, going and visiting my niece, and they had Pizza Hut and all this stuff in their school.
Right.
Yeah, no. 50% of schools serve name brand products. So they have like McDonald's Monday and Pizza Hut Tuesday and Burger King Wednesday.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. And 80% have, soda vending machines. So it's a way they get their revenue, and it's pretty frightening.
Yeah.
Well, and breakfast food. We always have conversations with local teachers, and the breakfast foods that are offered to the kids it's almost a guarantee that your kid's not going to be able to concentrate.
Of course. Kids go to
awful.
breakfast on Doritos and Coke. How can they focus? How can they learn? We know these things cause hyperactivity, cause brain dysfunction. It's pretty awful.
Even high sugar yogurts. People are like, oh, but yogurt's healthy. No.
Yeah. And milk. Skim milk that's strawberry or chocolate milk is one of the worst things you can feed your kids. Worse than even soda. There's no fat in there. They get hungry. It's pretty awful.
I remember growing up on chocolate milk. We had no idea back then.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on low-fat everything.
Yeah, right.
I was born in 1969, so everything in my childhood was low-fat, and I was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Not even sure Jane Fonda did very much to help the world with the whole fat-free thing, right? Seriously, she got us all moving, but then we're just eating fat-free snack wells and things. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It is pretty crazy.
Well, Dr. Hyman, before we let you go, because I'm sure you have patients to see and things to do, what's new on the horizon? Anything? A summit coming up that you're in, or a new book on the horizon?
I'm starting a new podcast, which is really exciting, and I think we're going to call it The Doctor's Pharmacy. That's FARMACY, about food and medicine. And I'm also hosting a summit called an in-person live event, the first time ever, in Southern California near LA. It's a beautiful resort on the ocean. It's called the Feel Good Summit, and I promise you you'll feel good. It's unlike anything you've ever experienced, with amazing teachers and experiences. It's very participatory and experiential. It's not like sitting your butt in a chair for 4 days. It's actually being part of learning and growing and working together to really set the stage for a really healthy, vibrant life. I'm excited
when is
about that. That's June 7th to 10th. You can go to feelgoodsummit.co. That's not .com, but feelgoodsummit.co, and learn all about it.
I want to go.
Speaking, we've got Dave Asprey, Mir Forleo, Janine Roth, amazing speakers and teachers and healers. It's really great.
Wow. Awesome. 3-day immersive health experience. I'm looking at it. It looks awesome.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm in Joshua Tree. Make sure you come by and say hello if you're out there.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I live on the kickback lifestyle. terrible.
I love that. It's good. Everybody should
I'm all for it.
learn from you.
The super hippie. One day I'll host the super hippie summit.
Yeah, super hippie. All right, that's good.
Dr. Hyman, thank you so incredibly much for taking the time to be with us today, and everybody needs this book. It simplifies the complexities and makes it very, very digestible. There's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Food.
Thank you.
What the heck should I eat? It's a great book.
You.
I've got it right here too. Thank you so much. This has been fabulous. Also, I tell you, you gotta keep an eye out for me. I've got something really amazing, revolutionary that's going to be launching here in the next couple months. You have to keep me on your radar. You just wait. It's called Thyroid 30. So just keep me on your brain. Coming.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Dr. Hyman. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
What a great guy.
He's a great guy. The Feel Good Summit.
Mm-hmm.
Look at
and
the palm
food,
trees
what the heck
on that.
should I
That's
eat? I like it.
Actually, it's an awesome book. Fats and Oils, Nutrition IQ
and
quiz.
He's got tons of books.
The Pig and Diet. Huh?
He's got tons of books. Eat Fat, Get Thin. I don't have that one, but I've been wanting to get it. So
the 10-day detox, the blood sugar diet.
Yeah.
Recipe books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can find all things Dr. Hyman at drhyman.com, drhyman.com. He's got articles, a store, programs, all kinds of things. If you search in the thyroid, a 7-step plan to boost your metabolism and your low thyroid, whole food, protein shakes, all kinds of stuff. I mean, he's just got a ton of amazing things. It was truly an honor to have him with us today, for sure.
You can also find him at foodthebook.com and, like he said earlier, drhyman.com. So, as always, a very big thank you to our listeners. If you get a minute and you enjoy our shows, especially today, leave us a little review on iTunes. We would really appreciate it. And if you've missed any of the shows, then you can definitely, while you're there, download them and listen to them at your leisure. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. And don't forget to check out thriveprobiotic.com.
Yeah. We love having them as our sponsor. It feels really, it resonates.
Good.
Really, really good to have them, right?
It was an awesome fit. How grateful we are.
Yes, we are. Make sure to follow Thyroid Nation on Facebook and everywhere on social media, and check out our Hashis and Graves Facebook support group. We list the upcoming shows and the past shows, and there's questions and all kinds of good stuff in there, so please check that out. And again, as I mentioned to Dr. Hyman, we got some really cool stuff coming out. Thyroid Refresh, please check out my site if you want to learn more.
And, of course, we heard it again. We hear it with every speaker every week. It's craziness, right? Dana and I, most importantly, always want to remind you that wellness is a journey. You heard about it with Dr. Hyman. There are situations that come up in your life. It's never just one and you're done. You got to pay attention and listen, and your body and your life take continual maintenance and evaluation. Your body's going to tell you everything you need to know. You just have to be listening, so be mindful of what it's telling you.
Amen to that. Great show. Thanks to Dr. Martin. Such a pleasure. Anna.
And Tiffany.
Thyroid Nation Thrivers, bringing the collective voice of thyroid thrivers worldwide so that together, united, we heal.
And we are.
Guys.
Bye. Have a wonderful week.